Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Tuesday night Eventide patrons only stream. How is everyone doing here this fine Tuesday night? Doing pretty good. It's been a pretty good week, both in Eventide and in some of my other projects. Sure, you can see why I've been kind of distracted on some fronts as of late. There are some elements I want to address about that. As much as I can say, and I'm really only going to talk with how the news of the remaster relates to Eventide. Hey there, everybody. So I've got news on that front. I've got news on the art front. That's going to be the big thing that we're going to be talking about here today, is the art front. This goes back to my ongoing portion of this Patreon, that some of the value that I'm providing is just giving you insight into how these things are made. And this is going to be the art iteration. I believe we've done this once before. I'm going to do it again. And walk you through the pieces, the sketches that I've gotten, and talk about the feedback that I've given. Which actually wasn't a lot. But, so I'll start with the news from the top. First off, most importantly, I want to say congratulations to everyone who's gotten their print copies of Part 1 of Wolfren's Fate. I hope you are really satisfied with them. I am really happy with how they turned out. I think the print copies look fantastic. They're not quite of the quality level that I would say offset printing is, that you would get at a major manufacturer. These are print on demand. It's a different machine. It goes much faster and can do much quicker setup. So, one thing that you learn about offset printing is offset printing works by creating print films that basically allow the ink to pass through of the various colors. There's 4 colors, right? It's 4 color processing, right? So it's CMYK. And to make these things work on a mass scale, they use these kind of print films that they are on big drums and they roll and they print on the pages. That's an expensive setup. And it's something that you only do when you're doing a massive amount of quantity. Print on demand doesn't work that way. It's more like a traditional printer. Now, that said, these are printers that are bigger. The pages are then cut, just like they would be in offset printing, right? Because when you offset print, you're printing kind of more than the actual page. Then they're cut to shape, organized, bound together. That part is actually relatively similar in kind of print on demand printing. They're still cut, they're still arranged, they're still bound. So the process is a little different, and as a result, because they're not using that super high quality, crisp, film-based ink for color processing printing, the color isn't quite as crisp. You can't get to the same level of ink saturation. Things are a little different on the color profile. Now, that said, I have enough experience that I knew where the limits were and pushed everything as high as I could get them. Right? So the ink tolerance with lightning source is 240%. Each ink has a percentage that can be on the page, right? From 0 to 100. I think I've explained this before. And the maximum is 240. At a higher end printer, you can go up to 300 or maybe even 320, 340. Beyond that, and you're just putting so much ink on the paper that the paper has to be really thick to even take it. It's not what we're worried about here. But so, for example, Mixum, which is the company I'm using to print Hope Finder, I can go up to 300 with them because they have a slightly different print process than Lightning Source. And Lightning Source is really only doing 1 at a time. So, anyway, I actually think for what this is, the module looks great. It looks really fantastic. The color on the cover was very crisp, a lot more crisp than I thought it was going to be. And the interiors came out pretty great. So I'm thrilled with it. I hope you are as well. I've seen people get it, and I'm really elated to see it kind of out in the wild. That's really exciting stuff. I am looking forward to at PaizoCon. Reminder, folks, PaizoCon is about less than a month away at this point. At PaizoCon, I will be running Part 1 of Eventide for some folks. It'll be selected via lottery. You can sign up through the PaizoCon portal and through Warhorn, you can look for the Eventide event. I'll be running just the intro of Wolfren's Fate for whatever group happens to get in. So that should be pretty fun. In addition, I'm also running a Hope Finder event during that, and that is when I think I'm going to put part 1 of Wolfren's Fate up for public sale. It's a little sooner than I would like, because part 2 is not quite where I want it to be, but it is lighting my fire to get part 2 moving. So we'll get to that here in a bit. Part 2 is coming together nicely. Part 3 is actually starting to shape up as well. So, you know, things are happening. As quickly as I can manage to make them. It's a lot of things all happening simultaneously right now in a bunch of different... So, top it off, work has been, well, a little stressful. As you might have imagined. The shakeout from the earlier part of the year has led to this, combined with a bunch of other factors. So, I'm not going to talk about Pathfinder as a game or any plans that are happening with the remaster. You're not getting that here. I can't tell you any of that stuff. I have to partition my mind. And really, I can only talk about Eventide and how it relates to the remaster. Now, the remaster has been announced for November. Obviously, Eventide is out already, right? You already have it. So, I suppose the question that's on all of your minds is, will I be updating it to match the remaster? Yes. That's it. In fact, anything that gets an OGL version, you can keep the OGL version. I'll keep the OGL version available, but I will also make an orc version. Now that said, going forward, I may change some things. So, once the orc license becomes finalized, I may just swap over to just doing the orc license. But all of these things that come out between now and then, I'll put on an orc version of it as well. What kind of changes will that be? Well, it depends on what monsters are still available, what changes happen to the classes and things like that. Now, I happen to know a lot of what's going on in there, but I'm not going to move one piece of it until those books come out. I think that's only fair and, frankly, doesn't break my NDA at work. So that is probably the right call. But I will endeavor to have those things ready as soon as possible. Honestly, looking at what Paizo, me, and Logan and Eric have said publicly, I don't really think there's a lot that's going to change. Eventide has never really relied too much on concepts that are drawn specifically from the SRD. I mean, there's a few things, but the overall shape of the world and its story, that's mine. I don't have to worry about that. You know, a lot of the things that I do draw upon quite heavily in the world and in the story are things like, yeah, there's skeletons and there's, you know, wolves and stuff like that. None of it's going to be a problem. You know, so I honestly don't think I have too much to worry about. Tegaris has a question of when the random draw will occur for the PaizoCon lottery. That is a fine question I do not have an answer to. I literally don't know. I'm not sure it's been announced to us internally. I can try and find out. Audio is going to be a problem, obviously. But wherever there are problems, there are new opportunities as well. God knows I can create a new sewer monster. Not even a problem. Monster that eats trash? That's easy. In fact, the fact that the Audiog is the one that's down there eating trash is actually kind of weird if you think about it. Nothing about it that says sewer, right? It's nothing. It's just a 3-tentacled creature. We'll figure it out though. So that's kind of all I have on that front, to be honest. Like I said, looking through my Eventide material, there's not much I have to worry about. Obviously, you know, some things are going to change, some spells are going to go, some monsters are going to go. That's a part of the process. But, like, alignment leaving the game, that's never been a critical component of my world. Obviously, the gods are based on the alignments. There's a good god, an evil god, a chaotic god, and a lawful god, and a neutral god. But nothing about that has to really change. There can be a god of order and structure and a god of freedom and whimsy. There can be a God of good and holy intentions, and there can be a God of evil, wicked deeds, and there can be a God that doesn't take sides. All of that is easy to do. I'm not even really worried about it over much, so I think we're fine on that front. Like I said, Capricola, I'm not going to talk about it here, but trust me, it's going to be okay. I think folks, there's a thing in game design where I think sometimes our job is to present you with the thing you didn't know you wanted more than the thing that we are taking away, and we just haven't gotten there yet. So, I'll leave it at that. And yes, I will remaster the Penumbrist. Update on the Patreon Player's Guide. That is rising to the top of my to-do list, but it hasn't gotten to it yet. I'll be honest with you. There is 2 things above it. One is making sure I have enough of Chapter 3 written to start playtesting it Thursday. So I'm working kind of on that right now. And the other thing that is ahead of it is getting the final script of Part 2 finished so that I can start the editing process. Once that goes to edit, and I've got 3 in maintenance, then the Player's Guide is number 1 on the priority list. So that's kind of the process here. I just need to make sure I hit it. I think I'm in a really good shape now that between all of us, the Hope Finder stuff is now basically done on the internal side. I have one little last task to do. Other than that, I just need to print it and ship it out. So that's done and no longer on my plate. There was a few elements of it that I needed to wrap up, which is why, for those of you who backed that project, all those PDFs went out on Sunday. That was me finishing that project, right? I finished writing them all. I finished finalizing the color and the proofing on the booklets. So, just everything's happening at the same time. It is what it is, right? But I am excited to say that now my focus can be on this. Well, and occasionally on Jedi Survivor. Now, gotta have a little fun. So, let's leave all that behind. Let's start talking about art. Time to talk about art. Okay, so a few weeks ago, just like 2 weeks ago, I sent Frost Lamson the art order for Part 2 of Wolfren's Fate. It included 4 headshots, 3 spots, and two half-pagers, and a vignette. So it's kind of a heavy art order. This is one of the largest art orders I've given one artist up to this point. And Frost has already given me 5 sketches. So these are some of the easier sketches. I'm not going to lie. They're some of the simpler ones to do. So I'm not surprised they've come first. I have now given Frost feedback on these, so that process is ongoing. I'm at the point now where the next big thing is just getting the text to go with it finished and off to the editor, which I'm hoping to do maybe next week if everything goes according to plan. We'll see. See how my weekend goes. Oh yeah, art's really expensive, by the way. Yeah. That art bill is almost $2,000, I think, roughly. Art's expensive. Yeah, that's if you're wondering where the Patreon money goes, it ain't making me rich. It's going to buy art because without art, this just doesn't work. So that's it. I can do the writing, and I can do the layout, and I can do the cartography. Those are the 3 parts of the design process I can do. I can't edit my own work because that is always a catastrophe. You should always have someone else edit your work, and I am not a good enough artist. Or I mean, I could probably muddle through, but it would be bad and amateurish. I have a lot of art training, but not enough to do professional work. I can do good maps. I can't do people. I've always been kind of bad at people and like good, nice rendered color work. You do sculpture. Pretty good sculptor. Anyway, not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about art. So, as I said, there's 5 pieces of art. I'm going to start you off with the most fun, whimsical one. Here it is. Pie. So yeah, one of the pieces of art that I ordered was for the pie eating contest. Now I'll tell you how I decided on these art pieces. Basically, I had the shape of all of Part 2 laid out, and once I had that all kind of assembled, I just started dealing with it like a pagination, going, where do I need art? And I went through all the stock art I have to find out what appropriate pieces I have, and there were some. Not a lot, but there were some. And I did that, and once I was done with that, then I started going, okay, where do I want color pieces to pop in here? One part of the adventure where I was like, I don't have a piece of art in here at all, was the Harvest Festival. And thinking about it, I was like, well, there's the archery contest. Maybe I could do a half-pager there, but probably not. It's a lot of character work, and that's no fun. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do pies. The pie eating contest is such a big component of it. And you've got your frostberry pie, which is up here in the front. You've got your fire jam pie, which is the hot, spicy, bubbly pie here in the back, in the middle. And then you've got the mystery pie in the back. The mystery pie has a lid. You don't know what's in it. Who knows? Eat the mystery pie. Could be worth more, could be worth less. You never know. So that piece, the art order for that was pretty much that. It was, give me, 3 pies. Here's what each one of them looks like. And nailed it. I approved that piece. I literally did not give any feedback on that. That is exactly what I was hoping for. 3 pies. Looking tasty. Looking well designed. Meeting my goals. 3 pies. All right. Let's move on from the pies. Pies are the most boring part. Okay. Let me go and grab this one. It occurs to me I should pull up my art order. That'll help. Here it is. So this next piece... Yeah. Great job, no notes. That is exactly what the feedback I gave. This next piece is called the Print Shop Sign. This illustration depicts a wooden sign, one that would typically hang from the post in front of a shop. The simple wooden sign has been painted to show a hand grasping a parchment scroll, but the thumb has been stained black as if from being covered in black ink. The sign says the Black Thumb. That's the order. This is the sketch. So this was pretty good. I'm mostly happy with this. I like how I can see the hand. The thumb is working out rather well. I think that is mostly good. I gave 2 pieces of feedback on this because there's 2 aspects of this that are not quite doing what I want them to do. First of all, the hand and the parchment, I think format-wise look kind of good. They're in good shape. It's roughly what I imagined was a hand holding a scroll, and the thumb is black. I think that's fine. I do think that it could use some paint. Right? It could be painted on there. It's a painted hand and a painted piece of parchment that looks like someone painted it on there. And not just an outline. The outline's too ephemeral. It doesn't pop enough. So that was the first piece. The first piece of feedback was, yeah, let's just get some paint on that. That way we can tell the fingers are fingers, and not that you can't tell from this, but let's just make it look like they actually painted the sign and not just outlined. That was the first piece of feedback. Second piece of feedback I gave them was the text on here, and I realize this is probably just because it is a sketch, is too perfect, right? If you look at it, that's clearly a font that was used and used to create those letters. It's too perfect. It's too clean. It doesn't look like a sign that was painted by hand. It looks like the words on there were created by a computer, right? They're just too perfect. This is especially true when you start comparing some of the letters that are the same. The 2 T's, the 2 H's. They're just too identical. So the note there was, I get this is probably a sketch and you're going to do it over that. But let's make sure that this doesn't come out looking like a bunch of printed characters. Even though this is technically a print shop sign, and if anyone could make that happen, it would be them. But in this case, let's not. That was really the only note I had on that. It's relatively straightforward. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and load up the next one here. Okay. So the next piece, the art order for it is the Gemwood book. This illustration depicts a simple leather-bound book. The leather has been dyed a dark green color, and on the cover there is a large four-pointed leaf that has been glued to the face of the book. The title of the book is Beyond the Gemwood, and this is visible, stamped into the cover in gold foil. Pretty straightforward there. This is what I got. Oh, nope. I hit the wrong thing. Here it is. So, again, it's what I ordered. But I gave some feedback here as in this case, I actually altered the order a little bit and said, hey, can we get maybe some brown leather on the spine and the corners, like corner covers, and kind of a brown leather spine, just to give it some variance. It turned out to be, I like what was done here, but it's a little too uniform. So I asked for a slight alteration on it. Next up, again, the text. The text here, again, looks like it was done by a machine, not by... it wasn't hand-lettered. So, again, my note here was like, I get this is just a sketch. You're probably not going to just run with the sketch. But that's what I'm looking for. The green color, yeah, I mean, I think there's just so much green here that it could use an accent. That's what I came down to. The four-pointed leaf is kind of what I wanted. This is a leaf that I actually sent. I'm trying to look at the name of it. Of the tree. The weird tree. Art reference. Oh, I just call it leaf. Let me check. So these are tulip tree leaves. No, wait. Not quite. Had this. I'm trying to remember what the exact tree type is. The weird tree type. Tulip tree. Yeah, it's a tulip tree. Liriodendron. So not exactly a common tree. That's what gemwood tree leaves look like, I've decided. I wanted them to not be something super distinctive. They can't be 5 points. Those look too much like maple. They can't be, you know, simple blade leaves or anything like that, right? I wanted something that looked different. That when you saw it, it was like, that's a different kind of tree leaf. Now, admittedly, this is a real-world tree leaf design, but it's one that I feel is uncommon enough that I'm not as worried. It's one that folks will look at and be like, I don't think I've seen it. So, that was kind of my goal with that. I wanted some leaves that didn't look identical. Looked a little different, little fantastical. Other than that, I think that book's fine. There's nothing. It's a critical piece of the story. It also comes at a spot in the pagination that was just like, yeah, I guess the book. So there's that. Okay, let's move on to the headshots now. I have two of the headshots. I'm going to start with the one that I don't like as much, because I think it just needs more. So this is Hadram. This headshot is of a human man. He is about 30 years old, has dark brown hair, brown eyes, no facial hair, and a Persian complexion. His face is tall, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that are just a bit too large. He has a subtle smile on his face, and his hair is a bit unkempt. He's wearing a black vest embroidered with gold over a clean white tunic. So this is the sketch I got. I don't dislike it. I want to be clear. I don't dislike it. It's just not quite what I was hoping for. It's very close. Tulip trees are over on the East Coast. Well, that's why I haven't seen them. I'm from the Midwest and West Coast. That's why I haven't seen them. All right. This is the sketch for Hadram, and as I was looking at this, and over the past weekend, I realized that the piece of reference that I really wanted to send is I would like him to have similar facial features and expressions, because I think it matches Hadram very well. Is a young Alexander Siddig, who you may know from Game of Thrones. He was the crown regent of Dorne, but you might much better know him from Dr. Bashir from DS9. And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I mean, I can't take his likeness, but that's who I imagine Hadram as being. Kind of overexcited, exuberant, and just kind of weird and quirky. Which, frankly, that's what I've now sent my artist. I'm like, it can't be him. But it could kind of look like him. It could have similar features. So, we will see how it goes. Yeah, Dr. Bashir. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with that. Like I said, I'm not dissatisfied with this. It's just not quite exactly what I had in mind. Also, I got to work with Frost a little bit on the complexion. This is obviously just a sketch, so we're early days still here on this. I don't think this is the one that I gave the most feedback. Just because I was like, this isn't quite what I was hoping for. But, you know, the vest and all that stuff is kind of exactly what I wanted. There's no real problems with that. Just something wasn't quite hitting right. He didn't have the quite right kind of enthusiasm. Something about the face that needs a certain level of enthusiasm. The eyes are a bit too big. That was intentional. The eyes are supposed to be a little bit too big. He's kind of one of those people with big eyes. You know, I usually code that with someone who has a lot of kind of passion, or bigger eyes is always kind of a symbol of that for me. And frankly, if you look at some of the earlier photos of Alexander Siddig, he kind of has that. He's kind of got big open eyes. Now, that is Hadram. I'm not, like I said, not displeased with it. Just needs a little exuberance. Yeah, maybe that's the right word. Exuberance, maybe. All right. Let's go on to the last head here. Hadram is the one who is Persian. So, I'm not really getting that in the sketch. But that is also why I'm sending Alexander Siddig. Yeah, that's Hadram. So this last character is the last one that I have a headshot for anyway, is Alipar Clifton. Now, the description here is this is a headshot of a human man. He's about 60 years old, has thin, wispy white hair, bright blue eyes, and a white, well-trimmed goatee. He has pale skin and plenty of wrinkles around his eyes and brow. A pair of small spectacles sits on the end of his nose. He is wearing a simple leather apron stained with ink over a similarly ink-stained tunic. His expression is one of interest, as if listening to an interesting story. So someone who's just paying attention. This is what I got. Nailed it. Yeah, Tiger Eyes, when I think Persian, I think Iranian. That kind of region of the world. Iran, Pakistan. It's kind of that ethnic region. I'm not going to try and say any more because I feel like I will probably just step in it. In that I'm not an expert in the cultures in that part of the world. But the Persian complexion is one that I... So yeah, here's Alipar Clifton. I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is coming along just kind of what I wanted. Older man, ink-stained robe and tunic, spectacles on the nose, looking kind of interested at you. The thing I have asked for, there's only one thing I asked for this, which was to make his hair a bit more messy. He's a little... I want him to almost have Einstein hair. Not quite. That's too far. Einstein's hair went everywhere. But what I'm kind of looking for is hair that's just a little messy, right? It's tousled. He doesn't really pay attention to it. He just kind of gets it out of his face. I think that I think the key here with him is that he should look a little unhinged. He's a little bit too well groomed right now. That's exactly it. His hair is really the thing I need to be a little less put together. He's just a shade too much like he's gonna offer you a Werther's. Right? A little bit too close on that front. But I think we're almost there. I think you tussle and mess up his hair, and I think we're pretty much there. I think it's pretty close. He genuinely looks like someone who's going to listen to what you're going to tell him, and then he's going to tell you something else real serious, which is what I need him to be. So, I'm pretty happy. I think the Frost has been doing some great work, and the quick render on these sketches always helps me, work with the artist to make sure that, we're on track. Now, obviously, I still have 2 headshots left, including Geratha and Radolin Trevere. Those are the big ones there. And then I have all 3 of the larger pieces. 2 half-pagers, the Giant Bee attack, the Shadow Serpent fight, and I've got the vignette, which is the Shadow Portal. And all 3 of those are important and complicated pieces. So I think those are the ones that I'm really eager to see. They're kind of some of the hardest ones to get right. I can't wait to see a fight against giant bumblebees. There's a good chance that's going to be the cover, because I like bumblebees and it's kind of whimsical, and it's not really a spoiler for the plot, which is what I'm trying to avoid. It's always tricky when you buy when you get a half pager or something. You want it to be evocative and fun. You also don't want it to spoil the plot. Like, it'd be like, here, you're fighting this guy. Like, the actual cover I have for Wolfren's Fate, the entire adventure, which is a full-page piece of illustration, which I got from William Hallett. Frankly, it's a bit of a spoiler. It has a gaunt on it, like leaping through the air at the Penumbras. So, in front of Wolfren's Tower. Actually, you know what? I think I got Frost to do that. Double check. That's William Hallett. No, Frost lines in. Yep. Yes, Frost did that. Okay. Yeah, giant bees. That's what I'm going with for the cover of Wolfren's Fate 2. Now, I may audible it when I see the 2 pieces, right? That's one of those things that I allow myself some discretion on. The upside is the layout of the book itself is I don't have to worry about futzing with that this time around. All of that will go much faster. So that's all good news. So yeah, that's it. That's the 5 pieces I have right now. Suppose I can check, see if we got any more while we were sitting here chatting. I doubt it. All right, yeah, we're good. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. The sketches came in. Frost still has several weeks before anything is due, so I don't expect I'll see finished art on this until June. But I'll probably see most of the sketches here in the next week or 2. So expect me to maybe do 1 or 2 more of these where we sit down and look at some of the sketches together and examine those. I do think it's fun. It's a fun way to kind of show behind the scenes stuff on how this stuff kind of comes. Now, I do also have a number of pieces of art already picked out for this. I don't even need to wait for those. These are just some of the straightforward pieces. Let's see. Part 2, Wolfren's Fate, layout, art. Oh, that's right. It's all TIFFs. That's why I can't look at it. Because I forgot. I tried this last time, and they were all TIFFs. So I can't. Can't show you any of them. I have to convert them out of TIFFs, which isn't worth doing for a stream, because it's a pain in the ass. So, yeah. But looking at the folder, let's see. There might be one that I'm willing to do here real quick just to show you. Out. Listen, I use TIFFs all the time in my layout stuff, but they don't always play well with other functions and other. But that is okay, because I can pretty quickly export some of these things. Give me just half a second here. There we go. Show you an example here. At least one. There it is. Oh, and it's much bigger. All right. Go ahead and size before. There we are. So this is a piece that I think I'm going to use in the layout either when you arrive at Jaratha's and she's making stew, or later on during the festival and you make it to one of the stew lines, or actually, you know what? I just remember what I'm using it for. I'm using this for when the party is escorting the priestess around and they arrive at the soup kitchen. So I'm going to use this here, which is in a cauldron filled with some sort of bubbling concoction. I've got a lot of stock art of stuff like that. And looking at what I've got here available to me, I've got a raven, which there's a raven in one part of the adventure. You fight some giant toads in the sewer. I have a giant toad, black and white illustration. I'll probably reuse the illustration of Wolfren, the little wizard, because he'll probably appear somewhere in there again. There's some weird cloaked figures. There's a zombie, some daggers and stuff. You know, there's plenty of stuff. But yeah, you know, we can always have a bubbling cauldron. Always fun. Nothing special. Not that special. But I do like using that stuff just to give me a little bit more art in my adventure. I obviously don't want to rely on it. That's why I actually ordered more color pieces for this adventure than I did the previous one. Part of that's me trying to ramp up. Another part of it is just, frankly, I think this adventure is going to be slightly longer. I don't think it's going to be 32 pages when I'm done with it. I think it's going to be more like 36 or 40, depending on how things go. So, it's getting long. So, on the upside, I think, you know, the final part of this probably won't be a full 32 pages, so it might all be. So, that's it. That's what I got for today, folks. Anybody got any questions or anything before we get going here? I'm always happy to take some questions from the attended folks. What else we got going on here soon? Thursday, I have a playtest session. I actually ended up skipping 2 playtest sessions. I haven't really talked about it. I skipped streaming last Tuesday because I was busy desperately trying to get everything ready for Wednesday. Spoiler, little story time. Tuesday, I was setting up the stream and the elements for the Wednesday announcement because I was the streamer. And I was building it on my machine, and I accidentally went live on the Paizo Twitch for 43 seconds with the remastered title card available for everyone to see for 43 seconds. I realized my mistake. We pulled down the VOD and deleted it within 5 minutes. Almost no one saw it. Almost no one saw it. one person on one of the Discords saw it, and they talked about it for about 10 minutes and then moved on, and no one ever went back to it, and that was it. I was sweating bullets. I thought I had accidentally spoiled the entire release. But it all turned out okay. I was really upset on Tuesday because I had accidentally streamed for 43. So that's why I didn't play last Tuesday, and the Monday game I had already canceled. We had already canceled the previous Thursday game. I've been in a mess of getting ready for stuff. So, anywho, it's all better now. Nothing to see here. How much writing do I need to get done by Thursday? So what I'm trying to do is write a couple sessions worth. And I'll probably doing the majority of the final writing tomorrow evening. But I've already got enough for, I think, one full session. I want to make sure I've got a 2 or 3 session buffer. Because a 2 or 3 session buffer gives me a month and a half to work on other stuff while that can just kind of sit. Not that I don't want to work more on it, but I have to get part 2 done, and I want to get the player's guide moving, and I need time. So, yeah, Capricola, that's what Paizo went live with. That was me accidentally hitting the wrong button, and I was sitting here checking, going, "Why isn't this recording? What's going on?" And I realized I hadn't hit the record button. I hit the go live button, and fortunately, it was on the start screen. And the title card was incorrect, but the title for the stream was up. So, yeah, it wasn't great. So, anyway, a little bit of inside baseball there, don't I had to go to my boss. I had to go to Eric and be like, "All right, so I screwed something up." He was at Gamma at the time, and I'm like, "Okay, so I just messed something up, and I hope it doesn't ruin our whole announcement. I've never done this before. I'm usually very good about info security. I'm never the point of spoiling or the leak, but I was setting it up in OBS and I accidentally hit go live. 43 seconds is how long it took me to realize, panic, and end the stream. 43 seconds terror, everybody. That's what we got. All right, folks. Well, that's about all I have here for today. I'm going to be going live here on Twitch in about 14 minutes or so, playing more Space Marine. That's right. I'm excited to play more Space Marine. We played some Space Marine on Saturday and stomped a bunch of orcs. It was a delight. It's a lot of fun. So join me for some more fun for the Emperor here starting at 8 o'clock. Folks, that's all I have here for you tonight. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your support. Hope you all enjoyed part 1 of Wolfren's Fate. I can't wait to get part 2 to you soon. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.